I know that many of you work in totally different branches, industries, and a lot of you are strategically based on Microsoft, not only on premises, but also and above all cloud-based. More and more of you. Many are using the Microsoft 365 Cloud Suite. And the question is, how can I manage an audit-proof document management in M365? The CAMFIL Group seems to manage really well. And this is why Sascha Kleine-Boes was sent to the Netherlands in order to talk to Erik Kruidenier. So he came back with a fascinating interview. And I think we should share that with you. It's a recorded interview, which includes a lot of exciting aspects concerning Microsoft. If you are strategically focusing on Microsoft, pay a special attention. Welcome to the d.velop Forum 21, Erik Kruidenier from the CAMFIL Group and Sascha Kleine-Boes.
Especially organizations which are strategically using Microsoft 365, we know that they have the goal to map their processes within the cloud. One question which has come up time and again is the question as to whether Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Teams and Microsoft SharePoint are really audit-proof. The CAMFIL Group has been using since 2019 the document transfer to document clouds, Microsoft 365. Documents generated in their ERP. Erik, I'm very much looking forward to what you're going to tell us. Is Microsoft 365 audit-proof? Erik, it's so good to have you here, and thanks for having taken your time to have this interview with us together. Before starting, could you briefly introduce yourself and introduce the CAMFIL Group? Of course, with pleasure. Sascha, thank you very much. I'm Erik Kruidenier. I'm working for the CAMFIL company. CAMFIL is an international company founded in Sweden, and for many years I've worked in Rheinfeld in the German subsidiary. And CAMFIL actually produces clean air in bigger rooms. What does it mean? Well, we don't produce air filters for vacuum cleaners or cars, but we produce air filters for hospitals, for example, laboratories, hotels, shopping centers. That is for bigger objects, and also for, well, power plants. Well, we actually produced the air filter for the Chernobyl dome. You know, Chernobyl power plant exploded. It had to be encapsulated, and sometimes people have to go in and out, but there has to be an air exchange. The radioactivity, obviously, must not escape. So the air filters that guarantee that radioactivity is kept inside were produced by us. That's cool. Where do you produce? We produce worldwide. We have several production sites in Sweden, Germany, but also in America, South America, Asia, Malaysia, for example. We are operating on a worldwide basis. We have got roughly 5,000 staff members. We are not the biggest as far as volumes are concerned, but we are the best as far as quality is concerned. This is what I guessed when I paid a visit to your Rheinfeld site. I came when you had an exhibition there. It was very interesting. And of course, everybody knows the brand Tempo handkerchiefs. Everybody's got them in their pocket. Our products are more encapsulated in grey boxes on the roof of buildings. That is why our brand is not so known. We are rather invisible. Yeah, that sounds exciting. And exciting was the challenge as well you had to take up at the time.
You started with an IT project. It was a kind of selection process. And that's certainly interesting for our viewers. Why did you go for it? What was the challenge at the time on the business side as well as on the IT side? Well, the reason why we opted for it is that the old status was such that our documentation filing was a physical filing. All documents that were sent to our customers from our systems, like, for example, sales orders, quotes, delivery bills, etc., they were printed in-house, on paper, were filed in a folder, and then were stored in a cabinet. They're typical customers where I would say, oh, there's a huge potential for us. Exactly. And the reason why we started with the project was actually that we are growing continuously. Well, we have more and more staff members as well, but we are not growing in terms of space. And all these cabinets with documents took up a lot of space. They were hindering us. And also, it's not safe. Well, thanks God, it never happened, but just imagine floods or fire in a building would destroy all the documents. That's well understandable. I think that's a situation that is quite familiar to many companies, or they know that from the past, because they were confronted with the same problem. From the IT side, what were the options actually? IT is always thinking in terms of digitalization, and that was our option. We want to move away from printing out on paper, filing fax copies or filing letters. We wanted to make sure that documents we generate be archived or stored somewhere digitally, so that the whole process is easy, that they can be easily retrieved. And also safety was very important, and safety also for our auditors and in terms of data protection. How did it work? Was it clear right from the beginning that Microsoft 365 would be the platform, or did you have different analysis alternatives you were analyzing? Because probably for some it might be interesting to know why you decided in favor for the Microsoft 365 strategy. CAMFIL is very much Microsoft-oriented. All our digital projects, all our digital systems are based on Microsoft, almost all of them, I would say. Not only our MMS, our Merchandise Management System, or CRM systems, but also we are working with Office 365, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, but also with OneDrive, SharePoint. And this is where we quickly connected that to the wish to also make repositories in Microsoft. Well, that's pretty understandable. It fits with your company. There are typical companies that are very strongly Microsoft branded and whose target is to map all the processes there. And the trend goes more towards clouds. This is something that's pretty visible. Is that the same case with your company? That is our main IT strategy. It's called Clouds First. If we are looking for a new solution, we always try to find a cloud-based solution which meets our requirements. If we can find it, then it would be the first option. What about the provider choice? How did you proceed? And what is the reason why you decided in favor of d.velop? Well, we started with request for quotation and went through the whole process, obviously. And the main reasons to decide in favor of d.velop was the quality. Not only the quality of the solution, but also the quality of the company. Second, simplicity. How simple is it to handle and to manage? How simple is it for the end user as well to save and archive the documents? And thirdly, always the question of costs. These were the three main criteria. The fourth was the following question: would that be a forward-looking solution as well? Would it be safe for the future? Not from the point of view of d.velop, but would it match our strategy as well? Would it match or fit in with our strategy to shift and switch to new merchandise management system or within Microsoft. Very interesting. Thank you very much for the compliments, by the way, and I'm looking forward to whether it can be confirmed later on and whether it holds true. Let us look into the project. What was your plan? What was the user case behind?
Also der Anwendungsfall wäre ganz einfach von der Sicht aus der Verkaufsmitarbeiter zum Beispiel
be the sales force, for example. They get a request for a quote. They have to prepare a quote, they send it to the customer, and this quote is then approved, confirmed. Then there's a purchasing order, production order, delivery order, and an invoice. And that process, all the documents, were to be as simple as possible to be archived, if possible automated. So the salesperson would have confirmed an order, pushed a button, document was to be printed, the person had to get up, go to the printer, get the document, perforate it, file it in the folder, and put it in the cabinet. That was our archiving process. Well, in times of increasing mobility, it's not really some doable solution. Well, the situation in 2019 proved that this was the right decision. The manual steps in archiving were to be eliminated. We wanted to get the whole thing on an automated basis, and this is what we managed with the solution offered by d.velop. So the other way around, in order to make it clear to the people listening and to the viewers,
Documents for Microsoft 365 als neuer Name
d.velop Microsoft 365 are add-on products for Microsoft 365, and you think you could not have mapped this scenario on standard Microsoft. Not at the time. Whether it's possible today, I can't tell you, because we are no longer in those old processes. So at the time it was not possible, not in an automated audit-proof version. Okay, that would be the spoiler at this point in time. We do know the situation well, and we know, or at least I think we know, about filing in document libraries is something you can still do with the metadata. What is difficult is the transfer of documents, integration in Microsoft Outlook, and to inherit metadata automatically, etc. Now, let us try to get a clearer picture. You were just saying you did have different leading systems, especially in the scenario it was the ERP, that was Microsoft Dynamics CX, and from there, let's take a simple scenario, you transfer documents in SharePoint online in order to have them audit-proof, and you did so with the help of development tools. This is correct. And the system that was used in Germany for merchandise management was the older version, 2009. So that was another major challenge. Yes, but we did manage together with you. And from the older ERP system, we got an automated transfer to a different server in SharePoint and save them there. And they are audit-proof. Yeah.
Okay, und das Projekt selbst als solches, wie verlief das denn? Magst du da ein bisschen was erzählen?
How did it work? Would you like to give us a few details? Well, roughly, we set up a project team. The project team was in part people from the business, from the sales force, or from sales and distribution, people who knew how work was looking like and how they wanted to work, and then people from IT, people from ERP. We've got in-house developers who are responsible for small adjustments to the ERP system, and then people for the Microsoft network, people who are responsible for the servers, but also for the configuration of SharePoint. So it was kind of a mix of technicians and end users, right? And the thought behind was, it's a business project. It's not an IT project. IT people are there to support us, but it's a business project. So business people were the leaders. And how did it work? So some people came along, installed something one morning or during several days, and then that was it. The installation was rather painless. The connection of an older, non-cloud-based ERP to the cloud-based filing or archiving system was a small challenge for you as well, I think, your people. But the adjustment to our ERP system was not really too bad. And if I remember correctly, I think we had 2 or 3 workshops first where people from the business could see and feel and work on the system and could actually see what it would look like and what would be necessary for the sales area. The installation, I think we managed within 1 or 2 days. The technical installation, that is. And that was it. Well, sounds good. Well, it's nice to hear that it works. Was that the case for the users as well? Could they start right away, or was there a transitional phase? There was a kind of transitional phase. There were users who said, I want to go back to the old system. That's familiar to me. But in the meantime, I can say it's been generally accepted because it's so easy. You don't have to get up and print something out. And finding documents is extremely easy. You don't have to go through all the cabinets and pick out the right folder and then look for the document. No, you can type in a search term and you'll get an immediate overview of all the documents available. So the phase of familiarization was there, but it was rather short, I would say. That's cool. Now, if I am AX or AIP or Office user, what does it mean for me? So do I have to have a second application opened each time, or can I proceed in an integrated way? It's totally integrated. It's integrated in our ERP system, but also in the Office 365 applications like Office, Outlook, Excel. The application does not have to archive any longer. It's automated. For example, if you've got an order confirmed in the system, it will be automatically archived. That's cool. Great. Can't be any easier. It's an easy user case, if you like, and especially as far as the benefit is concerned, it's great, isn't it? So maybe it's a good point as well to talk about results as well.
When you look back on it, when you reflect on the project, what's your assessment from the IT point of view, but also from the tech point of view, your content point of view? Well, as I've said before, our aim was to have an easy-to-use product, not only for the end users, but also for the IT department. Easy to use, future-proof, with a view to our internal switch to new ERP systems.
Okay.
And that was it, basically. We talked about e-vehicles downstairs when we parked our cars, and I said I will never again switch back to a non-electric vehicle again. I love it. What would your recommendation be to other companies that might be facing similar chenges? What was your lesson learned? What's your recommendation?
Meine Empfehlung ist ganz klar, in diese Richtung zu denken und auch in so eine Lösung zu denken.
My recommendation would be to adopt this way of thinking when looking for a solution. We didn't talk about figures. I don't have the figures now off the top of my head, but I know that major savings were one of the results. So if a salesperson create or files 10 orders per day. It takes a while to print it, to file it, etc. And now they do it within an hour, what they did before during one day. So a digitized solution is definitely my recommendation, and we're happy that we found you. But also strategically, this idea to choose M365, what's your evaluation of that? You could have chosen a classic repository. Many do that, many companies deliberately, but in your specific case, you didn't. In the beginning, you said you were moving quite strategically within M365, and now you have the DMS on top of that platform. Did that work out for you? We'll talk about auditing later, but apart from that, was it worth it? Yes, definitely. As I said before, cloud first is our strategy, and that is almost entirely in line with cloud first. M365, Finance and Operations, is cloud-based. Filing system, SharePoint is cloud-based.
Das sorgt dafür, dass wir kein On-Prem, also
keine Serverraum mehr. Us to avoid an on-prem solution. We don't have a server room anymore. We don't have the physical devices anymore. If you've done your homework, you have automated backups and all that. Great.
Jetzt stelle ich mir Folgendes vor. Also ich mache jetzt so ein Projekt das erste Mal.
Now, what if I approached you, being a first-time project planner? I have introduced M365. I have a couple of meetings via Teams, but other than that, I'm not really using the potential. Now I want to carry out such a project, want to start, and want to be aware of the archiving, the filing scenario. What would you recommend to me as a head of project? Should I turn it into an IT project? Should I have a mixed team? What is the one recommendation you would give to such a person? That's the thing. We approached it as a business project, not as an IT project. The reason being that we feel the business has to accept it. If we find a fantastic solution for anything, and we produce it and we make it available, and if there's no acceptance, then we haven't gained anything. We need acceptance by the actual users. If I were to plan such a project again, I would use the same approach. And I would immediately start with user cases. Let the people from the project, the business people in the project team, work with it right away so that they can feel what it's like and get a feel for how to operate the system. I wouldn't. It's Contoso data. It's not the fictitious data. We sell cookies or something like that. No, but with your own data. That makes it easier to create acceptance among the users, and that's the main reason for everyone involved. That's a great tip. Now let's talk about auditing. Is it auditing safe, so to speak?
Erik, was ist denn jetzt eigentlich? Ist SharePoint
Online okay for auditors, yes or no? Yes, it is. That's great. Next question. How did you go about talking about this specific issue? I'm asking because this question comes up again and again by clients, by prospects. They ask us, Microsoft 365, is it safe when you're audited? What was your approach to that? Well, we got several external parties on board. One party was Microsoft, because that's the provider, so we got them at the table. Then our auditors, we included them because they had to approve it in the end. We got you, representatives from d.velop, and we worked together and we worked it out. Without giving too many technical details, but there is a simple solution you create specific labels, and these labels determine the documents that have been filed. Can it still be processed further? Can it be deleted? Can you change the document in retrospect? You can approve it or block it, this option. Or you could say, these documents need to be on file for this period of time, let's say 10 years or 7 years. That always depends on the local legal requirements. What are you obliged to do by law? In Germany, it's 10 years for most of the documents, or 6 years, so it depends on where you're located. In Italy, it will be different. In Malaysia, it will be different because the law requires you to do different things, but you can control that with the system, and hence the documents are safe, which means that you actually took 2 steps. One step, you need the authorization, and via the authorization, the documents are released. So that's one degree of safety, and then you have these labels to tag the documents and say, this document is automatically deleted after 10 years. Great, great, very fascinating. What is your conclusion after all this time? Was the audit, was that one of the reasons why you chose this path? Are you satisfied? Yes, absolutely. I'm happy. It matches our strategy. It's safe. It's easy. Well, safe to the extent that anything can be safe. But yes, it is. It fulfilled all of our requirements. It's a process that has been approved by the auditors. So yeah. Right. What are the next steps then for you? We have talked several times in the recent past, and thinking back to our talks that we've had, I would think you are not unhappy, I should say, and you have some plans still, right? Yes, we do have some plans, and in order to understand our plans, you need to understand a little bit how CAMFIL works. We are globally represented. We have 25 business legal entities in Europe alone. And each business entity currently has, well, they have their own ERP system. Many have SAP, Prestige, Concord. It varies. We're currently undergoing harmonization, where we will harmonize the ERPs of all of these legal entities. It will be M365. And at the end of the day, the documents come in again, archiving, filing. Of course, it does make sense to have the same provider. We now get we're now getting an introduction for Expand at the location near Stuttgart in finance and operation of Microsoft, where we move away from the on-prem ERP towards a cloud-based ERP in connection with SharePoint Online, together with Expand as the filing system. Great, great. And if we're successful there, and if we are able to convince our corporate IT, I could imagine that the solution will be rolled out all across Europe. Well, this is exactly what we've been talking about. Well, we are there for you if you need us. No, of course. It was so easy to do this project. It is wonderful, the level of acceptance. So I don't see any reason to opt for another solution there. Erik. Thank you. Wonderful. That is great feedback, to be honest. I'm very pleased. Thank you. I really love the fact that you're happy, just like many of our clients are. I love the fact that you were ready and had the time to sit down with me for this interview to give us a little overview of the project and to talk about auditing as well and safety, data safety there. Very fascinating. fascinating, Erik. Thank you very much. My pleasure, anytime. And thank you for this wonderful solution. We are so pleased that we found it. It makes things easier. We're working on improving ourselves every day. Thank you, Erik.